Welcome to my podcast story, the show where podcasters share the real journey behind their voices, from their first mic check to their biggest milestones. Every episode reveals the lessons, challenges, and breakthrough that shape a podcast star's journey. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I can't wait for you to hear today's story. In today's episode of my podcast story, we have Terri M. the multifaceted novelist and creator of the Online for Authors podcast. Our show empowers writers with practical guidance on navigating the publishing industry and building their author platforms. A fascinating storyteller both on and off the mic, Terri's podcasting journey developed alongside a remarkable personal renaissance, transitioning from self-help financial books to award-winning historical fiction. After escaping a 14-year emotionally abusive marriage and cycling 3,102 miles across America on a tandem bicycle with her husband, a unique blend of resilience, creativity, and warmth shines through in how she approaches podcasting, as she uses her platform to mentor other authors while continuing to publish novels that transport readers through time. She's here to share how inspiring podcasting journey and how she's creating communities in the literary world, one episode at a time. Tell us your name and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Terri M. Brown, and I am an author, a podcaster, and a public speaker.
Okay. What's the name of your podcast and what's it about?
Yeah, my podcast is called Online for Authors, and it is a podcast where I talk with other independent and small press authors after I've read their book, and then we have kind of a book discussion. I don't give away any endings, but I tell people that it's a good way to figure out that next book on your to-be-read list, and it's a good way to get to know some of these smaller authors that you're not going to get to know because they've not made the big lists and they don't have a big name behind them. But that doesn't mean they're not writing amazing books.
Yeah, I like that perspective.
Well, the reason that I came up with that idea is because I am a small press author, and I know how difficult it is to get out there and get people to know who I am. And podcasts has been a way, with me as a guest, has been such a wonderful way for me to get the word out there about who I am and what I'm doing, that I wanted to offer that to other authors.
Yeah. Okay. What was the inspiration that led to you deciding to start podcasting? Not start a podcast about this topic, but the podcast is a medium. Of course, you could have chosen different medium for doing the thing you wanted to do. Why podcasting?
I think what happened for me was I was a new author. I had my first book out. I realized that it wasn't going to sell itself and that I needed to find a way to get my name out there in the fastest way and broadest way possible. But I also didn't have a lot of extra money to spend. So it wasn't like I could just throw a lot of money into a marketing campaign. And I realized that becoming a guest on a podcast was a way for me to reach audiences that I wasn't going to reach just me going out and trying to meet people. So I started doing podcast guesting and I loved it. I loved the conversations that I was having with people. I loved the one-on-one. I loved the in-depth conversations. And then I just loved the fact that once it's out there in the universe, it kind of stays out there. And it was like beautiful marketing for me. In that same period of time, I was on a podcast. And it was Online for Authors, the one that I have now. And the woman who was running it, her name was Jennifer. And she had been podcasting for about 2 or 3 years, but was burning out and was kind of getting tired of it. And she said to me, Terri, I'm kind of like burning out. Would you be a guest host? I'll do all the back end stuff. I'll find the guests. Would you be willing to just do the hosting part? And I thought, oh my gosh, that's like perfect. That's everything I want to do and nothing I don't want to do, right? I didn't have to do any of the hard stuff. Yeah. And so I said, yeah, absolutely. And that lasted for about 3 months. And then she said to me, I'm giving it up. I'm done. Do you want it? Do you want to take it over? And my first thought was, oh no, I don't have time. Like, there's no way, I can't do this. But there's a little piece of me that kept saying, except you really love it. You know, you really love it. And so I said, well, no, I really don't. Well, give me the numbers. Let me know, like, how many people, and then, no, I really don't. But like, how much are you spending to keep this thing going? Like, I just couldn't let it go. And in the meantime, I got an email from one of the guests that had been when I was the guest host. He had been my guest, and he had written a book, and his parents were both in concentration camps during the Holocaust. And he had written their story. And I had been very fearful of talking to him because this is a big topic, and it's a very important topic, and it's a very sensitive topic. And I thought, what if I said something wrong, or I didn't handle it with the right, like, I was really worried about it. And he sent me this email, and it was so beautiful, and it talked about how I made him feel so heard, and that he was so glad that he had come on the podcast and talked with me, and And when I finished reading this email, I thought, I'm taking the podcast. I'm going to do it. So I took over the podcast in January of 24. So I've had it a year and a half now. And in that time, I've changed it quite a bit. It's way more free-flowing. It's way more my style. My style is very much where I just chat. I don't do a lot of editing. I might get rid of a little bit here and there, but I tend to just let the conversations flow. I read all of the books. So before I have an author come on, I've read their book so that the conversation that we have can be real. And I absolutely love it. I just love what I'm doing.
Wow. Okay. Like this, your story is really interesting and unique because you started off as a podcast guest and now you're a podcast host. And the funny thing is, you just did not start as a podcast host. You started as a guest host. And this is, for me, is the first time I'm hearing that concept. I know what it means. I'm like, I've never really heard someone use it. Say, oh, I'm a guest host.
Yeah, well, and it was fun for me because, like I said, I got to do the part that I really, really enjoyed. Yeah. And I didn't have to really learn anything. To be a guest host, it just meant that I was going to ask questions. And as an author talking to another author, I knew what kinds of questions I wanted to ask. And I love to talk. I have no problems talking. And so this was just going to be a conversation. I didn't have to find a guest. I didn't have to vet the guest. I didn't have to do any of the editing or getting it put out into the world. I didn't have to do anything except do the fun parts. And I thought, this is exactly what I want. And of course, Jennifer realized very quickly that it was not what she wanted, that she was trying to get rid of all of it because she was tired of doing podcasting. And so then it was kind of like, okay, Terri, are you going to take over or aren't you? And I was hooked by then.
Yeah. I'm curious. Are you the one handling the production of the podcast, or did you have someone to help you with that?
No, I'm doing it myself at this point, but I changed a lot of things. When Jennifer was doing it, for every hour of podcast guest, she did about 2 hours of editing, and I don't. I get rid of the little piece on the front and the little piece on the end, and I'll make a note if something really yucky happens in the middle. Like, I had one time where a cat jumped up and like knocked things over on the other person's side, and I'll get rid of that. But in terms of just general ums or even silence or stuttering over a word, I don't worry about it because I've noticed that the people who are listening to my podcast, they want to get to know the author as they are. And this is them as they are. And so they don't mind the fact that it just feels like they're listening in on a conversation. Yeah. So because I was able to get rid of a lot of the hard stuff, I can do it pretty quickly. I can get done with a podcast and have it up and ready to go very quickly because I am using some AI to help me like create the blurbs for the bottom and things like that. So I'm learning what I can do and what I can use AI to help me do and then get it out there very quickly. And then I just have my lineup and they go out usually on Tuesdays and Saturdays now is when things are going out. And, I just have them lined up and ready to go. And it's nice. I like having that. I would love to have somebody help me. But right now I can't afford to have someone help me. So I'm at that stage where the podcast is paying for itself, but it's not paying for anybody else to help me. So.
I like you. most persons they always want to they see someone doing something regards their podcast like I should do this. This is what I should be doing. They don't realize that there are so many factors and so many uh
There are.
decision
Yeah.
points you have to like look at and say, okay, yeah, I would do this. Probably in the future when you have an editor who handles everything, then you have these flashy and all those idea,
Well, and you
episodes.
have to look at, you've got the production time. So, the actual sitting there, doing the podcast, then the creating it so that it can go out. Then you have all of the uploading stuff that has to happen, getting all of that taken care of. You have all of the notes, the show notes that you want to put out. I create a blog post as well, so I have to create that blog post. Then I do social media that I need to put out there about it the day before and the day that it comes out. And so I have all of that to get ready. So there is a lot of stuff, but I've really streamlined it. And I have it done to a point that if I do a podcast, say I have a podcast at 11 and by 11:45 we're done with that podcast. Within an hour, I can have that podcast up and loaded and ready to go. So I feel like I've got it to a pretty good clip. I would love to have someone who did that hour for me, but that's not going to happen right now. So
Oh yeah, that's okay. You spend an hour on the recording the podcast and then about another hour editing.
yeah,
For a lot of persons, that's like I know for you it's a lot of time, but that 1 hour it's low.
it's really it used to take me a lot longer, but I have really streamlined it. I have figured out what I need to do and what I don't need to do. I have found tools that I can use that very quickly get things together for me. I've learned what I need to get from my authors beforehand, so that I'm not searching all over the internet for their photos and all of that. Like when they sign on, they get a list of these are the things that I need from you.
Yeah.
And I get all that ahead of time. And so I can get all of these things together, and it has helped me. I think streamlining your process is really important. And then figuring out what is working and what is not working, like in terms of social media. I was trying too hard at first, and I was putting out, well, I had my Facebook, my my Instagram, my Twitter, my LinkedIn. I also had the same thing for online for authors. I was putting it on mine and online for authors. It was too much. I could not keep up. It was overwhelming. And I finally just decided not to have an online for authors social media. It's all under my name because I am the podcast.
Yeah.
I am my books. I am my speaking. So it's all under me, and that has made things a lot easier. I just had to learn like what works for me. And maybe that's not the best thing. Maybe I really should have an online for authors social media presence, but I couldn't do it all. And so for me, this was the best way.
Yeah. I'm just just to put it out there, right? There's so many tools out there that since those vertical videos where the reels, the TikTok style videos, right? Where
Yes.
you post on the platform and it distributes it across all your social platforms without you even having to log into the platform in the first place. And
Yes. Yes. So I am, like I said, I'm slowly but surely learning tools and things to use. And I think that's what I'm going to have to start doing but even those, they cost money. And the more social media platforms that you want to put out on at one time, the higher that price is. And so at first I was just really keeping things tight and trying to keep things. Now I'm starting to figure out, okay, where do I want to spend the money? Where is the best place to spend the money so that I have more time to do the things I want to do and I don't have to spend so much time doing the things I don't want to do. And so one of those is I think I've discovered which system I'm going to start using where I put it in once and it goes out everywhere. And I think that's what I need.
yeah, just to share with you a realization I've had within this past week, and that is posting on social media. It's good, it's nice, right? It's like a brand building awareness stuff.
Yes.
But if you really want to like grow the podcast itself, get listeners, the best way is to go to other podcasts, anything that has to do with podcasts related to podcasts, because I feel like on social media you're trying to do two things. You're trying to convince someone to listen to podcasting, which probably they've never heard in their life, you're trying to convince them
Right.
to listen to your show. So now, first of all, they
So
have
you
to
got two
agree.
things going on, right?
They have to agree to
Yeah.
listen to to podcasting, and then they'll say, okay, let me check out a show. So it's quite difficult.
Right. And so like being on a podcast like yours, anyone who's listening to this already listens to podcasts. So now I'm only having to convince them that, hey, you want to come listen to my podcast, which is, you're right, that is definitely a good way to do it. So yeah, I'm learning. It's taken some time.
You see, that's the thing about being an indie podcaster. You're both the producer, the guest, the host, the writer, the director, everything. And so you're putting on all these hats, and you're like, well, unlike when you had a team, you're like, okay, there's someone whose job is literally to figure out stuff and make sure that nothing breaks.
Right.
And yours is
Right.
to show up and do what you know how to do best.
Right. And I really hope that that's where I get to. That's what I would love to do. I would love to do this part where I get to chat and just, be the face on the show and have someone else who takes over all of the other pieces. And that would be wonderful. It's just not there yet, but I've only been podcasting for a year and a half.
Oh, that's a long time.
It is, but it's not. And in that year and a half, it now pays for itself. So I no longer am paying anything out for all the things that I'm using. It's paying for itself. So I feel like that's pretty good. I would love it to pay for itself and some help. So, that's the next level that I want to go, is I would love to have someone who could come in and do some of this background work for me.
Okay, I want us to explore this part. When you say the podcast is paying for itself, what do you mean, and how is it paying for itself? Quick break. Before we continue, I'd love to invite you to join the My Podcast Story newsletter. Each week, I share highlights from our guest stories, behind-the-scenes podcasting tips, and resources to help you grow your own show. You can sign up at mypodcaststory.com/join. That is mypodcaststory.com/join. Now, let's get back to the episode.
So what I have started doing, because I have guests that want to come on because they've written a book. And sometimes I have guests that want to come on at a specific time in a specific way because maybe they have a book launch. So, my book is coming out, and it's coming out in July, and I'm doing a big push in June, July, and August. Well, I have a long waiting list. I have people lined up for a year right now because I read the books first. So twice a month, I offer what I call a skip the line feature.
Yeah.
And so you can skip the line, and it's $75, which is not a lot, but it means that I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing. I'm going to read your book. So I'm putting it right up into the front of the list. Whatever I'm reading is on hold, and I'm going to get you in on your week of choice. I don't give them a day, but I do give them like a week. Like, which one of these 3 weeks would you like to be in? And they get to pick it, and then I go ahead and put them in. And I can only do 2 a month because I can only read so many books.
Yeah.
And I get 2 a month. And those 2 a month, when you figure it out over the year, it pays for me being on Podbean. It pays for me having my StreamYard account. It pays for my Canva account. It pays for my Calendly. It pays for all of those things. And so I've got it where it's not costing me anything to do my podcast.
Yeah.
But it isn't yet. I haven't yet figured out how to scale it up even more, where I can then pay to have somebody, because what I really need is probably 10 hours a month of someone who can do the background stuff for me.
Okay.
And I want to make sure it's somebody that is going to do it right.
Yeah.
So,
tell me about that.
Right. So like I could probably hire someone right now at a really inexpensive rate, but I would get exactly what I paid for. And I don't want to ruin the quality of my podcast simply because I don't feel like doing the background work. So,
Yeah. For the quality of work you need for the podcast, how much do you think it would cost?
I'm not sure. I haven't really done looking. People have sent things to me where it's like, hey, we can do, how you get all of that.
They get your email from the podcast directories.
Yeah, absolutely. And they start reaching out to you, and they're most of them tell me that they can do it like $50 an episode.
Ooh.
Well, that doesn't sound bad until you realize how many episodes and you start figuring out how much money that is, right?
Yeah.
And I can't afford that. Now, I've looked on places like Fiverr, and you can get people who will do it for like $5 an hour, but I don't trust them. I don't even know that they speak English and that we would be able to communicate in a way that I would know that they were doing the right thing by me.
Yeah.
And then I also have, and this is me, this is just because I don't quite understand technology and how everything works, but the idea that I would give someone access to my social media accounts for them to put my social media stuff up, that worries me. Like, they could put up anything. They could do anything. They have my, you know what I'm saying? That's my it's my reputation. It really makes me very nervous. It makes me very nervous.
Yeah. I think there are workarounds for stuff like that. That thing you just mentioned is not a peculiar problem. A lot of persons have had that problem, and I know that someone has come up with a solution for it. Like it's
I'm sure
it's a pretty obvious problem that there should be a solution for that already.
I would think there is, but there's that. I don't know. You have to remember, I'm not 20. Okay, I'm 61 years old. So for me, when you look at social media and things, like, I know that for people who are 20 and 30 years old, social media has been around their whole life, but it has not been around for my whole life, and it still feels like a new animal to me. I still don't quite understand it, and so that idea of, hey, I'm just going to give you my stuff, you're going to head right into my social media and you could post anything. God, that just really worries me. So anyway, that's my own issues, but I'll get that figured out eventually.
Just to offer some some workarounds just in case in the future is usually what could be done is that you get access to some of these scheduling tools, right? You get access to it, right? So you log into those scheduling tools, and then you what's the word? You can add them as a team member, and if you want, you can have this what we call final glance or approver, right? Maybe at the end of the week, you can tell all the messages they've scheduled, right, to go live on your social media platforms. You then click on approve, which will take you less than 15 to 20 minutes, because now you're not the one posting, you're just approving.
You're just approving. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, then that does make me breathe a little easier, because I just think, what if they would go in and post something that was like totally not what I wanted?
No. You set their settings, and you're like, oh, they can't post live until you approve. And so once you do the approval, the post will go live based on the date that was scheduled on it. And so it puts in that level of security and all that.
I like that. Thank you. That makes me feel a whole lot better right there. But you see what I'm saying? These are things that I don't know.
Yeah.
And these are the things that I still have to learn. And so I love being on shows like this, because I do learn things. I always walk away with at least one tidbit, like, oh, now I know what I'm going to do with that. So
yeah.
Thank you.
For the video editor, for me, getting a video editor is, I don't want to. The thing about freelancing platforms is that I don't like that I spend my money for someone to do something and I still spend time to supervise them doing that thing. I feel like I'm doing their job for them, because now I'm like, the whole idea is to save time. Why would I be spending time saying, oh, have you done this stuff? Okay, have you edited? And then we have to go through 7 iterations just to get the final product. And every time I want to edit a video again, I have to do it again and again and again and again. And then I start asking myself, why are you spending money for this thing? You can already do it. Well, now you're not even saving time. We need someone who knows their stuff. They spend the first 2-3 projects. They understand your style, and they know where you're trying to go with your idea of the podcast. And you just do your thing, and they take over the files from you, and boom, it's ready. And you're like, so quick.
I think that with the editing, like you said, if someone could work with me for a podcast or two, that we did it together, they knew what I wanted, and then they did it, and I could just trust them to do it, that would feel really good. But you're right. You don't want to do something where it's back and forth, and you're having to watch the whole thing and say, no, I don't, I don't have that kind of time. If I'm going to do all of that, I'd rather just do it.
Yeah.
Give it to me. I'll take care of it. Yeah.
And back to the thing you mentioned about the podcast making money. I saw this quote recently, and it just got me thinking that for any business or any show to make money, you have to sell something. Now, I know people
Yeah.
say, well, entertainment companies, they don't sell something. Well, it doesn't always have to be your product. It could be just, it could either be someone else's product, but something has to be sold, because the people that are spending money to advertise on your show is because they want to sell their product. Same thing with the author. They're trying to bypass stuff because they believe that if they be on your show, it will help sell their book.
Right.
So,
Right.
so it's a question of what can we sell?
I know. What
Yeah.
can we sell? And yeah, I'm in a lot of groups where I'm trying to get these ideas. It's where I came up with the skip the line idea. And
Yeah.
that really, boy, that changed things for me. It was like,
Yeah.
wow, that has really helped. And like I said, I'm so new at this. You have to remember when I started. So when I did my first podcast as a guest, it was in 22. And I had never listened to a podcast. I didn't know what a
Yeah.
podcast was. And I was a guest on a podcast and hadn't even listened to one. Like I didn't even know what that meant. And so I've gone from that point to 3.5 years later, I run a podcast and I have been a guest host on several podcasts and I've been a guest on hundreds of podcasts. And so I've really changed, but I still am just learning all of the back end stuff. And when I first took over this podcast, it was more or less like trial by fire. Okay, here I go. And I just started putting stuff out. I didn't know what I was doing. I was making it up as I went. And little by little now I'm starting to make sense of things and start making it where it isn't just this free for all where I'm running around like my hair's on fire. Like I actually now know what I want to do and how I want to achieve it. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to place your. Uh, I don't want to say I'm trying to place your podcast in the box, but I'm trying to like think of what kind of podcast is your podcast. I know that it has to do with books, so I'm thinking education. But I also know that, yeah, uh, what's the transformation you hope people would get after like listening to your podcast for a while? Like, what would they say? Okay, I've been listening to a podcast, and because of this, I get this.
the reason people listen to my podcast is because they want to learn about their readers. They are avid readers who are always looking for their next best read. And these are going to be, when they listen to my podcast, they learn about authors that they're not going to learn about on the New York Times bestsellers list. So these are, I love a good indie author, but how do I find them? And so the people who are listening to my podcast are avid readers, often people who have things like book clubs and they're looking for like, what book should we read next and those kinds of things. So that's why they're getting on there, is to listen to these authors talk about their books and then determine whether or not this is a book that they would like to read.
Yeah, I mean, you could have a, that's the kind of people that listen to your podcast. They're quite vested in the subject matter, so you could have a community, yeah, a paid community where you get early access to episodes before it goes live. Because for me, when I think about community, I try to think of what are the things that I can do just by producing the podcast. I'll be able to satisfy the community. I don't know if it makes sense, so I don't have to go out of my way to go create stuff. Because usually people like, oh, I have to create community. I have no, because now doing early episodes of your podcast, you're already producing the podcast, so it's just like, oh, just get someone to do it early, and instead of if it goes live on Tuesday, by Sunday they've already gotten access to the episode of Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because
Okay.
people like early access to stuff, and there's a community where they can chat, and a bunch of other bonus and things that they can get, and maybe they could have one episode every month. Especially, I don't know, you could think of something that
Just
they will
for
really be
them.
interested
Yeah.
just for them. Yeah, and people will be willing to pay. I don't know how big the community is, but maybe $10 every month just to support the show, then the community, and they're having a conversation, engagement, and all that. It will go a long way.
Okay. Well, so more ideas. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
So now I feel like I need to pay you for having taught me some things.
Yeah, yeah. The part is it's just that there's no part, but I think at the end of the day, it's a question of what would my listeners want more of, right? Because
Right.
if we say, oh, what can I say? It's I think it's a wrong question, because now you don't really know you're like, oh, I don't even know what to say. It's more of like, what do they want more of? Well, how can I provide more value beyond what I'm already doing now? And then
Right.
you
What
just
what more do they want?
exactly.
What more would they like?
Yeah.
Right.
And if you could get
Right.
an opportunity to talk to them like in person, like interview them, just chat with them for 20 minutes, just like really know, sometimes we as hosts, we have this idea of why people listen to our podcast. And then you talk to your listeners and like, nah, that's not why I listen to the podcast. This is why. And you're
Yeah.
like,
And you're like, oh, I can
I'm
give
like,
you more of that.
and
Yeah.
you're like, really? And you're like, really? I'm like, I thought this is like, no. I don't listen to the podcast for that stuff. This is why I listen to the podcast. And you're like, wow,
Right.
okay. And you really get to learn a lot because, yeah, other than, because we're always talking to them. Once in a while, it's good for them to talk to us. So like, yeah, well, why do you listen to the podcast? What could we do? Would you be in the
Absolutely.
community and stuff like? Would you be willing to pay for stuff like? Because for me, people will tell you that, oh, this stuff is nice, this stuff is great, this stuff is fantastic. But you really know if they are being honest or they're just trying to like be nice. But asking them, would you be willing to pay for it? Because then
Right.
you're like,
Right.
nah. You're like, oh, but
Yeah.
you said, but like, absolutely,
Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
gladly pay.
Yeah, or if they wouldn't be willing to pay for it, asking them then, what would I have to do in the show to make you be willing to pay for it? And then you can find out what you're missing. Do you
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? So if someone kind of says, oh, I don't know, you'd say, okay, is there something that I could do that would make you pay for it? Because you might be just dealing with someone who wouldn't pay for a show regardless, period. There's no way they wouldn't have any, it wouldn't matter what you gave them, they're not paying. But someone else might say, well, yeah, if you had a live, once a month where I could come in and I could ask questions of someone, then I'd be willing to pay. And you could go, okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that these things that you just people okay, let me just say this. One of the things I've noticed with this age and time, and I don't know, maybe you've noticed is with AI and all these things that's happening all around the world, people want community.
Right.
Right, of course,
Yes.
community, and so people want a place where, if let's say podcasting, where I can just go in and say, I'm trying to record this stuff and this, and my mic is not turning. I don't even know what's going on. Is this feel fine? And you just have, because it's no longer it's a tribe. It's not, of course, you be the facilitator of the community, but it's no longer you one to one. It's more like, everybody's interacting and they're like, yeah, you should try this stuff on the mic. This stuff has this button, and everybody's like, yeah. To just know that community is there. People want it and they're willing to pay for it, because for podcasting most of the time it's a lonely game. It's just you and nobody else.
Right. And the only time that it's not lonely is like right now at this moment.
Yeah.
But all of the pre stuff and the post stuff, when you don't have a guest there, you're right. It's all by yourself.
Yeah. That's it. So the community, you just have to like find what works for the niche you in, and
right.
Yeah. And I think the best way to know what the customer wants is to talk to the customer.
I agree. I like that. I like that.
That's the best way.
And in fact, someone had said that to me early on, and then it got shoved to the back because I had so much going on that I was trying to learn. And it was, thank you for reminding me that that's something I do need to reach back out and start saying, okay, you guys that are listening, what do you like? What don't you like? What would you like more of? And that would really be helpful. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Now that I'm telling you this now, I just realized something that usually in my show I ask for, if you got value from the show, you consider support the show and all that. And then I'm like, nah, that's selfish. And like, it's about me, and I'm like, support the show. I think I should find a way to say, how do I put it this way? I will find something that will give them specially. So like, okay, there's an extra value that I could give them for supporting me. So it's not like, it makes sense, right? So it's not like, so it's like, support the show,
Yeah, so it's more of you support the show and I'm supporting you. It's a mutually, it's a mutual
it's like,
thing.
Just like, those charities like, if you donate this, we'll give you VIP access to this stuff and all that.
Yeah. I like that idea. That's good.
Yeah, I've had a lot of accountable moments, right? Just being on the podcast. And then I'm giving this advice. I'm like, I'm putting myself out there. I would have to do work on that. I'm like, definitely have to work on that. Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, I think what's true about podcasting is that you just keep learning. If you get to the point that you're not learning anymore, then you probably just have your eyes closed. There's a lot of things that you can do to make your podcast better. You can do better at hosting. You can do better at picking your guests. You can do better at the kinds of questions you ask. You can do better with what everything sounds like, the equipment that you're using. You can do better with what you offer to your guests and what you ask of your guests and all of those things. And so I think that you can constantly be doing better. And I hope that my podcast that's coming out, Saturday is going to be better than the first one that came out a year and a half ago. And I hope a year and a half from now, that podcast that comes out is better than the one that I'm putting out this week. I want to continue seeing it grow and the quality of my podcast becoming better and better.
Yeah, the thing about better is that most times when people hear better, what they think of is, oh, you make it the audio sound better, make the had a lot of intro music and all the sound effects, which is nice. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think better is a deeper understanding of the listener and the problem, and trying to solve it even better and better and better. Because I feel like for audio, there's a level you get up to which additional improvement to the audio doesn't really make any difference.
Most listeners don't have the equipment when they're listening to it to make it any better. Like how I hear my podcasts is often with a little earbud shoved in my ear as I'm driving down the road. So good quality is fine, but excellent quality, I'm not going to be able to tell the difference between good and excellent in my earbud while I'm driving down the road with car noise. So you're right. It's more about, like, do I have the right guests on my show? And am I asking the kinds of questions that my listeners want to know? And is the back and forth that we have going on, is it adequate? Is it more than adequate? Is it what my guests are wanting? And if you're doing those kinds of things, I think you're going to make things a lot better.
Yeah. You mentioned the podcast makes money, and thank you for sharing that idea with us. Like other ideas are just it's causing a chain reaction in my head right now.
Right.
Thanks for sharing that. You also you shared your workflow on how you edit the podcast and all that. Well, I just want to I want you to give us the behind the scenes of the tools you use. I use this app and it costs me about so amount per month. I use this app, and so that we know, okay, what's the tool stack like, and how much it really costs running the podcast.
Okay, so right now I use StreamYard.
Okay.
And I paid extra this time for StreamYard because I wanted to be able to do live shows. But I've only done 2 live shows. So I don't know that next year I'm going to pay the extra, because I just can't. Live shows are very difficult to do for me because there's too many things that can happen to keep a live show from going on. And I just find it very difficult. But anyway, so I use StreamYard, and I put things out on through Podbean. So those are the 2, how I bring it in and how I send it out. I also use Vimeo. I think that's how you pronounce it. Vimeo.
Yeah.
That's what I do to take. I have an intro and an extra, and I go in and I do all the cutting and putting it together, and I download it into a file. And from there, I take that file and I use something called Descript. Descript. So I'm using Descript to give me my transcription, and then I take that transcription and I allow them to create a blog post for me. And I love that feature. That feature is phenomenal to me. And if I remember correctly, Script is like $150 a year. It's not much. I've got the smaller one. I can only do 10 a month. 10 10 AI, or maybe it's 20. 10. I think it's 10 AI a month, and then you can pay extra per. And so I don't usually go over that, but that's okay. But I'm using that to find to create my blog posts, which is really great. I use Calendly, so that's how I make sure that I keep everything scheduled and I don't get crazy with my scheduling. I pay for Canva, so the extra on Canva. I use something called Clipchamp, and it's through Microsoft, and I just use the free version of that. And I use it to create little clips for things if I need something really fast. I have something that I do. So in the beginning of all of my podcasts, I start out with, hello, today on Online for Authors, I'm chatting with, I name the author of, I name the book, and then I say welcome. And they usually say something like, well, thank you so much for having me. I take that little piece and a graphic, and I create a little thing that I throw out onto my social media the day before it comes out. And it's kind of like, hey, this is coming out. So I use Clipchamp to put that together. What? Oh, and I also use something. I'm not going to be able to remember the name of it. Hang on. Let me look here.
What does it do?
It's called Text Expander.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
okay.
I know that. Yeah.
So Text Expander has been a godsend for me because I wrote an entire email in Text Expander, and I call it OFA email. And when I type in OFA email into the email, up pops this whole thing, and I can populate it with all the links. This is what I send out to my authors after this show has come out. And it says, hey, thanks so much for being on the show. Here's the things that you can do to help promote it. Here's all your links. Da, 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 da. I don't have to retype that every time.
Yeah.
And I have the same thing. I use Text Expander for all of my social media. The Online for Authors social media, because on the day before, it pretty much says the same thing. I just go in and change the who and the what, and it's the same thing, and it goes out every time. So I don't have to type and type and type. I love Text Expander. I love getting my weekly. It will tell me how much time have you saved this week using Text Expander, and I save anywhere between 2 and 5 hours a week.
Wow.
And I love it.
You should share that. I should. That's my next tool I'm going to explore. Wow.
I love it. And it's not expensive. I don't remember. It's a yearly fee, but whatever it was like, under $100. When you figure out how much time it saves me, even on my least weeks, I save an hour.
Oh.
And I figure if I was paying someone hourly, how much would I pay them?
Plus you have to manage them.
Yes, yes. And so it's called Text Expander, and I love it.
Text Expander, come and sponsor Terri M brand so that
seriously,
yeah,
seriously, it has been a lifesaver for me. It saves. So I have complete emails that it will put out for me. I have social media stuff that it pops up for me. I'm on Podmatch as a way of finding guests and being a guest, and I have responses. Like people ask me, how can I get on your podcast? Well, there's a whole list of things that I want them to know to determine whether or not they even feel this is a good fit for them, right? I have something, and what do I call it? I call it OFA Explain. So Online for Authors Explain. I type in OFA Explain, and up pops this long thing. And I only have to populate into it the dates, where I currently am in terms of where you would be in the line. And then I hit send and off it goes. So when someone reaches out to me, it takes me 10 seconds to respond to them.
Wow.
I love Text Expander.
I do a lot of copy and pasting. So
yes. And so that's what I was doing before, but still you had to go and find it, copy it, paste it. And now I just write in OFA Explain, bam, it's in. And I have things like, so I have 5 books that I've written. And inevitably, when you're doing certain things with different people, they need to know things like your ISBN number. So I'm constantly going and having to look it up because you do not remember that 13-digit number for 5 different books. It's not going to happen. But I put it all into Text Expander now, and I know that I put Sunflowers Beneath the Snow. I just have ISBN. And when I do that, up pops the ISBN number. And when I have An Enemy Like Me, that's ISBN. Bam, up pops the. So I have all of these things that I know how it goes. Even my own personal stuff. I love having a list of things that I'm going to be doing this week. because I like to cross things out. It makes me feel, I don't know, very, very good to just scribble stuff out on paper. I'm still an old-fashioned person. I like it on paper. And it just helps me kind of organize my day first thing in the morning to look at that and go, okay, this is kind of what I have going on for the day. Well, there's certain things that always happen on Mondays, and there's certain things. So I write T-Cal for Teri's calendar, and up all that pops, and then I just add in the extra things. And so like anything that you find yourself writing over and over and over and over and over and over and over,
Wait.
you don't have to write it over and over.
Just a wide guess. Does Text Expander have an affiliate link? Because I feel that that's a tool that authors would find particularly really useful. So you could just put it in your show notes.
Do say that again.
The tool Text Expander, do they have an affiliate link? So because you're already using the tool, you love the tool, so you might as well just promote it on your podcast.
That's true.
And episodes.
I don't even know. I don't even know if they have an affiliate link. I have no idea. I need to go check.
Yeah, you could
But
just check.
Let me tell you, I could be their spokesperson.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be. I absolutely love that tool, and I just discovered Descript, so I've only been using it for maybe 6 weeks, and
okay.
I love it.
The tool is fantastic.
I love it.
Some of the things you mentioned that you do in Clipchamp, and I was like, okay, maybe that's what she understands. You could actually do it in this script without having to go to Clipchamp.
I think I'm still figuring everything out. Do you know what I'm saying? I still like, and because I'm not paying for Clipchamp, it's not a problem until I get things figured out.
Yeah.
But I do that. I'm often doing things like that, and then I'm realizing I don't need both of these tools. What am I doing? But you learn on one, and then you get another tool, and then it's like, oh wow, look at all that this does. I'm learning. I've only had it for 6 weeks, and I'm figuring out. Oh wow, that's what that does. Oh, look at that. Yeah.
Have you tried the chats to edit feature where you chat with the AI, tell it the kind of edits you want to make on the video, and it goes ahead and does it for you, and it tells you to check the video and see if everything is intact?
No. Is that on Descript?
What did you try? What did you use? That's the thing there. Like, do you know ChatGPT?
Yeah.
The way you chat, you're like, oh, I want you to start the intro, and then puts in the title of the author, this blah blah blah. You just have the concept of what you want the video to do, and it goes ahead and it does other things for you. And you look at it like, you didn't do this thing well. You're like, oh, change this stuff. It does it. Can you say create clips for me? It does it. That stuff is fantastic, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, I'm figuring things out. AI scared the crap out of me. Like I kept thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know. Right. And then there are a lot of authors who are very against AI, and I'm against AI for like writing. Like I don't want AI to write a book. I don't think that's the way this is supposed to work, but for taking my words, like when I have a podcast, and this AI bot can go through and it can listen and create a blog post for me in a minute from the point that I upload it until I have it out. I can't do that in a minute. And it's not taking anything that I haven't already created. I created the podcast.
I think of it like a ghostwriter.
Yeah.
If you had a ghostwriter who does the writing for you, we have those things. There's nothing illegal or wrong with having a ghostwriter.
Right. So I'm learning, and I am starting to really accept, like, when will I use it? When does it make sense for me?
Yeah.
I even was asked to give a speech on, I have a book called 10 Little Rules for a Double-Butted Adventure. My husband and I rode across the United States on a tandem bicycle. And these are lessons that I learned. And they said, hey, we really want you to come in and talk to our veterans about rule number 8, which is knowing your why. So I took my rule number 8, threw it into ChatGTP. I mean, these are my words, right? Threw it into ChatGTP and said, hey, I need to turn this into a 10-minute talk aimed at veterans, and I want you to keep it not formal. It's very informal, very friendly. And it popped up instantaneously, right, with this speech. Now, I went through and I changed some of it because it was like, I wouldn't say it, but I'd do this. But it gave me a framework where instead of starting from scratch and having to figure out how I was going to talk about this chapter and the things I was going to say, and I went from what would have been a several hour long thing into, took me about 20-25 minutes. And in that 25 minutes, I now have this thing that I can now work on that I can go and say in front of this group of people. Yeah, so AI, I am starting to really understand the value of it. all the time people will say, well, have you asked AI to do this? And it's like, oh my gosh, I never even thought of that. Because you have to remember, I'm still the person who's in awe of social media. So you can only imagine that AI is like blowing my mind, that you could go in and ask it things and it will like, hey, here's this podcast that I just did, and I need a title for my YouTube channel. For this podcast, and I want it to be friendly, and I need it to have a colon in it, and I need, bam, here, and give me 5 of them to choose from. Bam, and it's like, yeah, I like that one. Yeah, so much easier than me. I'm just,
For me, I feel like creating content. When people say AI and will do this, AI will do that, I feel like AI is like one of all these tools we have, right? We shouldn't be scared of AI. We should be scared of humans, because it's humans that will use AI to rip your book and try to like write something out of it and then go ahead and publish it, right? The same thing with music and all that. It's human. Those are the ones that will use it decide whether to use it for good or for evil.
Well, and isn't that true of all technology? There isn't been a technology out that hasn't been used for both good and evil. I mean, that is just, that is the way of it. And it's been the way of it since the wheel, right? I mean, all the way back at wheel and fire. I mean, it's been this way where people have learned, fire was an amazing tool, right? You could now stay warm, and you could cook food, and you could burn people down, and you could, burn their buildings down. And so it's always been that way. And I think that I'm realizing, first of all, don't be afraid of it. And then second of all, I love listening to people who they're younger, who seem to have this more of an innate sense of what it can do, because they'll say, oh yeah, I use it for such and so. And I'm like, never thought of that. Like, whoa. I mean, I had someone the other day who said, oh yeah, I was sitting home and I had all these weird ingredients in my refrigerator and I needed to cook something. And so I said to ChatGTP, hey, I've got these things. What can I cook for dinner? And it gave me 6 different recipes I could choose from. And I thought,
yeah.
So I'm constantly having to remember we've got this amazing tool out there.
That's the funny thing is that you could actually ask ChatGPT that, oh, I have this podcast, and this is what the podcast does. These are the people that are listening. This is the amount of downloads I get for the podcast, and all this and all this and all this. I want to monetize the podcast. I don't want to stress. I don't want to offer this. I don't want to offer this. This is what I want to do. Give me monetization options I could use, and you just throw in a target amount of money you want to make per month, and it's going to go out there, do some research for you, and gives you some concepts and some ideas, and then you go through it and say, "Wow, I like this one. This one is nice. I could do this one."
Yeah, I think I could do this. Yeah. I like that idea, and so I'm trying to become. So when it comes to Descript, I knew to do it for one thing only. I was needing, when I found it because I was trying to find an easy way to get a transcription.
Ooh.
An easy way. And it was easy. And then I thought, oh, would you look at this? Look at this tool over here. I can create a blog post. Oh, look at this tool. So I'm still discovering. I don't even know what I've got my hands on yet. I'm still figuring it all out. But those are the main tools that I'm using. And I don't have a monthly. I don't know how much it is monthly. I pay almost everything by the year, where I just do one fell swoop, but for the year, when I put all of those things together, it comes out to about $1,800 a year is what I am putting into the podcast.
So it's a little over the So it's the income that is made from the podcast, from the skip the line. It's keeping the lights on. So.
Yes. And it's not doing anything more at this point. But you know what? It's keeping the lights on at this point. And when I started the podcast, my thought is not only am I going to be helping other authors like me, but I'm also going to continue helping myself, because when I'm out there, every week I'm out there with new shows and people get to see my face and get to see me talking, and inevitably my books come up. I always have at least one in the background, and all of this stuff, it's marketing for me. And so I was willing, I thought, would I pay, so you look at $1,800 a year, and so you're saying, $150 a month, about, that kind of thing. Would I pay $150 a month for marketing? Yeah, I probably would. Okay, then that's what I'm going to call this. And so the fact that it's now paying for itself is excellent. Now I would like to move into the next step. but I finally have it paying for itself. And it didn't do
Yeah.
that the first year. It's doing that now. And so now it's like, okay, now where do I go from here? And I like some of your ideas, so I'm definitely going to look into those. So thank you for that.
Everybody's always talking about money, but nobody really talks about the opportunities that podcasting opens for you. Like I've had certain conversations that if I had messaged those persons, I'm like, oh, I'd love to talk to you. Like, nah. But I'm like, I do have a podcast, it's a show. And I brag about my show a bit and I'm like, I'd love to interview you. And they're like, wow, that's fantastic. No one has ever reached out to me to interview me. I'm highly honored that you featured me on your podcast. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And in my mind of mine, I'm like, I'm the one get honored here, not you. But I'm like, let me maintain my cool so that
Yeah. So I think that for me, having a podcast it does two things. I love mentoring and helping other authors. It's just I've always enjoyed that idea of mentoring and moving people along, giving them this space. But I also, for my own selfishly, it doesn't hurt me any to be out here either, and as an author who's trying to make a name for herself, to be able to be out here and be able to mention one of my books, or to be able to say, oh yes, when I was writing, Sunflowers Beneath the Snow, I too had this same thing that you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? It's just another way to put me out there. And so I think that, it's both good for me and for my guests. And I love that I'm able to do something that is selfish for me and selfless for them.
It's a win-win for both parties.
And I love that.
Thank you so much, Terry. Just to round up with this, what advice would you give to someone who, who's probably thinking about starting the podcast, scared of the technology and all that, thinking probably it's too much work, but they really want to start the podcast. They love podcasting, but like, the technology part, it scares me.
I think the first thing I would say is, look, if I can figure it out, anyone can. Because technology is not my strong suit. It's the thing that scares me the most. And I have been able to figure it out even though, like, I'm just now learning that there's all kinds of things that I don't know yet. But it's doable. And then I think maybe find someone who's willing to help. Like, there are a lot of podcast communities out there. Podmatch has communities. There's a lot of communities that you can go become part of, and you can ask these questions. And I haven't met any podcasters to date who are not willing to help. Like, if you reach out and you say, hey, I'm trying to do this and it doesn't make any sense to me, they'll sit down with you and they'll say, okay, well, here, do this and do this. And da-da-da. Or they might even say, oh, I would never use that tool. Instead, you would really be better off if you were using this tool. Like, listen to them and just ask questions. And like the author community, I have found the podcasting community to be very warm and gracious and open, and everybody seems to be very willing to offer you the things that they know, which is awesome, because there's so many things that you can be involved in where it's like, well, if I'm winning, then you can't win, so I can't teach you what I know, or it isn't that way in this community, and I love that. So, like, don't be afraid of the technology. Just go ahead and dive in and then start asking questions, and there'll be people there who will help you along the way.
Yeah, thank you so much, Terry. It's been an absolute delight chatting with you.
It's been wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, well, once again, could you remind my listeners the name of the podcast, where they can check, so they can check the podcast and listen to it, and also where they can learn more about you?
Yeah, so the podcast is online for authors, and you can learn about me on my website, which is terrimBrown.com, and that's Terry with one R. And on that website, not only can you learn about me and my books, but you can find the podcast, and you can find all my social media and newsletters and all of the stuff. So it's all there in one easy place.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd love to continue chapter 2 of this story. And so whatever happens, or whatever updates, let's say you hired someone new or anything, I just love to follow up with this story. So just feel free to reach out to me.
I absolutely will. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. That's it for today's episode of my podcast story. I hope you enjoyed listening to this journey as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. If you found value in today's episode, make sure to subscribe and leave a review. It really helps others discover the show. And don't forget to join the newsletter at mypodcaststory.com/join for more stories and podcasting insights. Until next time, keep telling your story, because someone out there needs to hear it.